On the morning of December 7th, 1941, most Americans were still asleep. It was a quiet Sunday. Families were preparing breakfast. Radios played music. Children played outside. No one knew that, within a few hours, the United States would be pulled into the deadliest war in human history. This is not a movie. This is not fiction. This is the real story of the day America changed forever. By 1941, World War II had already been raging across Europe and Asia for more than 2 years. Germany had invaded Poland. France had fallen. Britain was fighting for survival. But the United States remained officially neutral. Many Americans believed the war was not their fight. The memory of World War I was still fresh. Families feared losing another generation overseas. President Franklin D. Roosevelt supported helping the Allies, but public opinion was deeply divided. Despite this neutrality, the United States was not completely at peace. Tensions with Japan had been rising for years. The U.S. had imposed economic sanctions, cutting off oil and steel exports, resources Japan desperately needed for its military expansion. Behind closed doors, American intelligence knew that conflict was possible, but no one expected a direct attack on U.S. soil. Hawaii felt distant, safe, protected by thousands of miles of ocean. That sense of safety would prove to be an illusion. At 7:48 a.m., over the island of Oahu in Hawaii, the sky filled with aircraft. They were Japanese warplanes. Within minutes, bombs and torpedoes began raining down on Pearl Harbor, the main base of the U.S. Pacific Fleet. Battleships were hit. Explosions shook the harbor. Ships burned as thick black smoke rose into the sky. For many sailors, the attack was sudden and confusing. Some believed it was a drill. Then the explosions came closer. Fire spread across the water as oil burned on the surface of the harbor. Men jumped into the sea, not knowing whether they would drown or burn. Others were trapped below deck, pounding on steel walls as smoke filled the air. The USS Arizona was struck by a bomb that ignited its ammunition storage. The ship exploded, killing more than 1,000 sailors in seconds. There was no time to prepare, no time to react, only survival. The attack lasted less than 2 hours. By the time it was over, more than 2,400 Americans were dead. Pearl Harbor was in ruins, and America was in shock. News spread rapidly across the United States. Radios interrupted regular programming. Families gathered in silence around their sets. For many Americans, this was the first time the war felt real. Across the country, the reaction was immediate and emotional. Churches opened their doors. Newspapers rushed to print special editions. In small towns and large cities alike, people stopped whatever they were doing. Parents looked at their sons differently. Young men realized their lives were about to change. Many Americans remembered exactly where they were when they heard the news. For an entire generation, December 7th became a permanent memory. Fear, anger, and disbelief filled the nation. The United States had been attacked, and neutrality was no longer an option. The next day, December 8, 1941, President Franklin D. Roosevelt stood before Congress. His voice was calm, but his words carried the weight of history. Yesterday, December 7, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. Congress declared war on Japan almost unanimously. Within days, Germany and Italy declared war on the United States. America was officially in World War II. The nation that had tried to stay out of the conflict was now fully involved. But the fear did not disappear. Coastal cities worried about more attacks. Blackouts were enforced. Sirens were tested. The country was united, but also afraid. The war did not only affect soldiers, it changed everyday life in the United States. Millions of men enlisted or were drafted. Women entered factories in unprecedented numbers, building planes, ships, and weapons. Rationing became normal. Families saved metal, rubber, and food. Entire industries shifted to support the war effort. America became an engine of war, and ordinary people carried that burden. Letters were sent overseas. Some would never be answered. Families waited. Hope and fear lived side by side. World War II would last nearly 4 more years. It would reshape the world. When the war ended, the United States emerged as a global superpower. Its economy, military, and influence were stronger than ever. But that power came at a cost. Hundreds of thousands of American lives were lost. Families received letters that would change their lives forever. Sons never returned home. Childhoods ended early. Pearl Harbor was not just a military event. It was a human tragedy, one that shaped how America would see the world from that day forward. December 7th, 1941, was not just a historical date. It was a real moment, lived by real people, that changed the course of American history forever. This is not fiction. This is not a movie. This is a real U.S. story.